Yeah, the funny thing to me is, for me, I haven't done CBS All Access at all. So for me, once we start viewing Picard, this is going to be my first experience with CBS All Access. So it's going to be interesting for me to see what I think of the app itself. I've only seen 2 episodes of Discovery. I do plan to watch Discovery, the short treks, things like that. I haven't seen any of that stuff. So it will be interesting for me to see all that. And I'm kind of curious to see how this all plays out. But we do have a teaser here. This is something that they put out on the CBS broadcast network during one of the NFL football games. So I thought I would play it for you, and we could do some reaction to it.
Okay.
So we got this first scene here. It looks like somebody playing sort of a piano-like instrument here. She looks like she could be some sort of a alien. It's a little hard to tell. Maybe a little person, hard to tell in this shot there. We got Picard back in the vineyard. We've seen this before with him in uniform. He's in the TNG style uniform as a captain, not an admiral, which is kind of interesting, right? Because we do know that he did make it to admiral. You know that from the comics. You know that from what else has been talked about, and I think it's even addressed in one of the teasers. They call him Admiral Picard.
Right.
But, interestingly enough, and we have seen this before, but interestingly enough, he apparently in his visions he's still a captain in the TNG style uniform. I think that's interesting. But we have seen that before. Now we got a good shot of Troy. This is probably the biggest thing that I noticed in the trailer. So we get a pretty good shot of her finally. Because before all we saw, but it basically was like the back of her head, right? That kind of thing.
Right.
Very short and passing. So we get to see what she looks like in the show. There's a nice scene here of all of them together. Troy, Riker, and Picard. This is definitely, I've mentioned this with the marketing of Picard. It seems to me they are definitely pushing the nostalgia. And my concern is that that's not what the show's about. You know what I mean? So I find the marketing makes sense to me, but at the same time, I think some fans are going to be really disappointed because they are showing a lot of these, nostalgia pics. They're showing a lot of the other cast, and I don't think they're going to be significant to the story.
Right.
But they're definitely, obviously they're pushing it with the marketing. Like I said, this was aired on the CBS broadcast network during an NFL game, so that's also telling with their marketing, their strategy. We get the little card thing. I don't know if we've seen this outfit before, but this is looks like he's outside, possibly at the Chateau Picard. But he could be on an alien planet or something like that. Hard to tell. And then we have this mysterious character. I always mess up her name. Do you remember her name?
No, I don't remember her name.
And I did want to emphasize your prediction, which I think is awesome. If they do go that route, that she is in fact sort of a Borg android hybrid and essentially the daughter of Data, I think that would be awesome. I really think that would be awesome. Like I said it before. The only thing that would make me even like just totally with it is if they actually brought Brent Spiner back as Lore as like the main villain. You know what I mean? I would just be, that's awesome. But we'll see. I don't think they're going to do that, but I do think your prediction could be true. And I know that's going to disappoint some people. A lot of people think that she's the daughter of Seven and Chakotay. But I think from previous trailers, that's just not the way that Seven talks about the whole situation. She doesn't show like a personal interest. She's more like kind of just looking out for Picard from what I've taken from the trailers. So we'll see. There's also people saying she's Picard's daughter. So, but I like your prediction, and I'm really anxious to see if that's true. And it does make a lot of sense because we know there are Sung-style androids. We know that the Romulans are experimenting on the Borg. Apparently, they're kind of doing stuff together. We know that Data is kind of important, even though he's dead, and apparently just like a flashback in Picard's mind. I have something where Brent Spiner was saying, even though Data's part is small, he is significant for the plot. So you have her. I think this is just Picard, I think, talking to Troy. That's what it looks like there. We have those people that are going after that character. We kind of get to see, I think we've seen this before. this weapon, kind of an unusual weapon. Hard to tell if is there anything you know of in Star Trek lore that might fit this, as far as any of the villains that carry a weapon like this?
All I'm going to say is that the legacy of the Disney film, The Black Hole, looms large. Every time I see these weapons that have the top and the bottom, kind of like Star-Lord's pistol from, Guardians of the Galaxy. There's a lot of science fiction iconography. I know there are a lot of fans of the Disney film, The Black Hole. And so every time I see stuff like this, I always think about the influence that film still exerts after all this time. So I can't think of a Star Trek alien race that would use this particular device. But like I said, to me, it just makes me think the legacy of the Black Hole lives on.
It also reminds me of the Brave Star blaster. Do you remember the Brave Star blaster?
Yeah, which I also think was influenced by no one from the Disney film, The Black Hole. So
I always liked that one. I always thought it was a cool toy, the Brave Star blaster. It was like a laser tag thing. So
this has managed to outlive the one I thought would never be supplanted, which is the Logan's Run. I always kept expecting this because for a long time there, we had a lot of weapons that were influenced by Star Wars, and there was a percentage of them influenced by the flame pistol from Logan's Run. And I think the Logan's Run one has about been forgotten now, but I'm glad to see the Black Hole legacy lives on.
That's cool. I think we've seen this shot before of Picard and Riker. If not, it's just a different angle. We got this scene I think we've seen before. This is that mysterious character obviously being chased by the person we were just referencing. We lost the feed for a second. You get a little bit better view of the armor here. You can see more detail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I hate to say it, when I see it from this view, to me it looks Federation. I mean, to me it almost looks like something Section 31 would be wearing.
I was going to say Section 31, maybe.
Yeah, because especially after everything that from Discovery. I mean, to me it really looks reminiscent of something that a Section 31 operative would be wearing.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I can definitely see Section 31 in that. So we'll see what that is. It does seem like there's some sort of symbol on the helmet, but it's hard to tell, So continuing that little fight sequence here with the two of them. All right, we don't think we've seen this before. I don't know who this character is. That's sitting. I mean, I know these two characters, obviously Picard, and then that's the mysterious woman, as I call her. I don't know who this character is, but there definitely is there's definitely a Lord of the Rings feel there, isn't there?
I was going to see the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. Looks like the thief from the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon from the 80s.
Yeah.
It's weird because a lot of people are referring to that one character as sort of Legolas.
Legolas, yeah.
Vulcan, and this is very much that kind of idea too. All I want to say is I protest, Captain. They should not be merry men. Now, I do find it interesting because, again, our mysterious character, you can totally see the Sung Data thing. I mean, every shot I see of this character, it looks so much like that. I keep going. It's like, is that what they're doing? I don't know. I don't think, but I still kind of holding on hope.
Yeah, I can see that with the look that she has on her face. But I don't remember seeing this character before. I don't know if this is supposed to be a Romulan. Obviously, their ears are covered.
Maybe it's a vision from when Picard played D&D as a kid. So he's going on a quest.
Perhaps. But I don't know who this character is. I haven't heard anything about them either. So yeah, I don't know that one. But it does seem to be more along this sort of almost like medieval fantasy type look. We got a very good shot of Troy here, leading Picard into the house, I imagine, because we saw the other trailer where they're actually meet outside the house. So I'm guessing Troy brings him in to meet Riker. And then we've seen this before. These are the Sung style androids.
Yep.
That I'm speculating are being experimented on along with the Borg at the Romulan site. That's my speculation.
Yeah.
We did see, there's another trailer where we did see our mysterious character in a similar jumpsuit like this.
Yep.
So, and it looks like a sort of a prison jumpsuit essentially, because they're being experimented on by the Romulans. That's my speculation there. We have seen this shot before in a previous trailer. We got another shot of these mysterious ships, which I do think are Romulan ships based on the ships that we see in one of the other trailers where we see the ships guarding the Borg cube. And we pretty much know that's a Romulan facility. So I'm guessing that these are Romulan ships. Hard to see anything there. I think that was Hugh, though.
That was Hugh in the lead.
Yeah, it's real tough to see him.
Yeah, I think that's him.
All right, and then we had another kind of like the 10 forward scene that we talked about before. It looks like.
Yep.
Vision.
Another vision.
We got the Badass 7 thing that they've been promoting quite a bit, actually. I know a lot of 7 of 9 fans are really stoked about this and this scene and all that stuff because they want to see 7 kicking ass. So apparently we're going to get that. So we just have this scene here. We're good. This is another good view of those ships. Well, are these the same ships?
I don't think they are. I think they're. I mean, they could be, but I don't know. It's hard to say.
It's hard to tell from this angle.
Yeah,
when you look from the back, it's very hard to tell. You know what I mean?
They could be, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. My best speculation, best guess is those are those Romulan sort of triangle ships. I believe we've seen this character before. I think she's one of the main characters, isn't she? The main character.
Yeah, one of the newer characters.
I don't think we've seen this character before, have we?
Oh, no.
So this looks like it's definitely like I'm guessing either Starfleet Academy or Starfleet headquarters when Picard goes in, and that one admiral basically tells him he's nobody. He's he's like, you're a fuddy-duddy, get out. I'm guessing that this is from that same area because that's what this background looks like. So I'm guessing that this is someone at either Starfleet Academy or Starfleet headquarters. Clearly, she looks Vulcan, though I guess she could be Romulan, right?
Yeah.
The Romulans are all over the place.
Or Elvish, possibly.
We do have that possibility as well, right?
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of Lord of the Rings. She could be, descendant of what is it, Elrod, whatever. So,
I do think it's interesting. They got the new communicator logo here.
Yeah.
So that's. Have we seen that anywhere before?
Nope.
So this is apparently the new communicator for current Starfleet. I do think it's funny how the uniforms are essentially Deep Space Nine uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's interesting. Some people are kind of angry about that. Some people are really cool with it. I'm just kind of like, to me it's like an interesting choice. I'm like because the last movie uniforms were quite different from this.
Right.
That was the uniforms they ended with on Deep Space Nine. But these are the beginning of Deep Space Nine uniforms. Essentially, that's what they look like to me. Obviously,
I'm thoroughly perplexed by it. I don't get it, but
I can't see her rank, so I don't know what rank she is. There is another. I don't know if now they're wearing their rank here. Do you see where I'm kind of pointing to?
Yeah, but see, they in Deep Space Nine and stuff like Chief. I mean, that may not be a officer rank. It could be some form of an enlisted rank, whether you're talking about like a petty officer or a chief petty officer. I mean, they might even be, if she's a part of the Makos, she might have some of more, Army designation, like, sergeant or something. So who knows? I mean, but judging by what I'm saying, I mean, she might be an officer, but to me, I'm thinking she might be more like an enlisted. So she might even be on trial for all we know. Star Trek likes to do a lot of trials.
Yeah, I have no idea who this character is. So as far as I know, from what we've been talking about also, I don't think there's going to be a lot of Starfleet in this show, but we'll see. I think they're just kind of going to brush Picard off, and then he goes off on his kind of rogue adventure. But we'll see. This character may be significant, but I don't know. We had that previous scene that I believe we've seen this before. I think this is from that 10 forward scene. Then we got this image. This is kind of new. I don't remember an image like this. This looks clearly like some Romulans. And by the way, their body armor does look like the body armor of the people that we're chasing our mysterious stranger character, you know?
Yep.
The body armor does look very similar to that. So
I want to point this out because it's weird before we go ahead. It looks like Picard is holding that sword, or someone is holding that sword for him that he's dueling with in the trailer.
Yeah.
What is with all the medieval iconography? Because this looks kind of like plate mail armor. Do you see the person in the back? It looks like they're wearing chainmail, carrying a shield.
Yeah.
Do you see that? Like, are the Romulans like fascinated by medieval warfare now since they lost their planet? It's like, yeah, we're going to take up fencing.
Well, I think what it could be, but my speculation would be that it has to do with this is sort of like a refugee population, and they may not have a lot of quote unquote modern weapons and things like that. They may be kind of like poor and desolate, refugees. So
I know
in that case, that because like the other character we saw looked like she had a bow and arrow. The other character we saw, the Dungeons and Dragons character we talked about,
right?
It looked like she had a bow and arrow. So what I'm speculating is that these particular Romulans are not well off.
Right, and I get that, but it takes the analogy of don't take a knife to a gunfight to a whole new.
It does, but we know one of the characters wields a sword.
And don't take me the wrong way. I mean, I trained in sword. I love sword fighting. I'm a samurai, aficionado in terms of I love samurai culture, and I did a book all about female samurai. Like I'm into all this stuff, and I think it's fun. And I find that as I'm getting older, I wish I'd spent more time learning about the medieval side. I mean, sort of like the Scottish and the Irish, or the English, my actual cultures. You know what I mean? Fighting traditions. And I feel like maybe I should have spent more time on that as I get older. But at the same point, when I see stuff like this, it just strikes me as a little odd, So we'll see. We'll see how they work it in. But there's a lot of medieval iconography worked into this show that I find a little unusual.
Well, I do think that this particular Romulan settlement, because I've seen other shots that I believe are the same settlement. Like we talked about in the previous trailer we watched, there was that Romulans only area and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to just be kind of the motif of that particular settlement. I think they're going to be kind of like, regressed a little bit because they are refugees. They may not be whatever Romulan government there is now. They may be kind of like, outcasts or, kind of like on the outer rim, if you will, because these are refugees, so I can go with it to a certain extent that they may not have access to a lot of disruptors and things like that because they may not even have a reliable power source on this planet. And if you don't have a reliable power source, how do you charge your disruptors, right? So we don't know because we don't know the state of the Romulan people. We won't know that until we see the show. I'm actually very interested in that to see what the state is because I've talked to you before. There's some interesting stuff in Star Trek Online, and a lot of people are thinking that a lot of Star Trek Online stuff is going to be canonized in Picard, that they're going to take a lot of the storylines from Star Trek Online and incorporate into this. Because in Star Trek Online, they have that. They actually have the Romulans experimenting on the Borg. That's one of the things you do. You actually go on the Borg ship that the Romulans are using to experiment on the Borg. To do that in Star Trek Online. In fact, I think I have some of that footage on my YouTube channel. From doing that play. But so that's kind of my speculation. I know that there's another trailer where we do see Picard is actually fencing. So I'm guessing this is the scene that leads up to that. Maybe some sort of challenge was issued, something like that. And he's going to be fencing somebody. But I do think this armor looks quite a bit like the armor of the people that were chasing our mysterious stranger character. So that gives me a little bit more that maybe those are Romulans, not Section 31.
Okay.
But it is interesting. It is interesting. I also think it's you get a pretty good look at this character here, and you can notice they didn't fool with the Romulan makeup. This is TNG era Romulan makeup. You know, they didn't change the look.
Right.
All right, now we got a picture of Picard shooting a weapon. Now that does not look like the typical TNG phaser, does it?
Nope.
It's hard to tell with this glare and everything like that, but yeah, he's got a weapon there. He's shooting at somebody, and we can kind of see the silhouette. So the question becomes, who's he shooting at, right? Where is he shooting? And and it looks like he's home, right? I'm guessing this is Chateau Picard. It looks like he's got his memorabilia and stuff in the back. So that would imply that he's shooting someone in his own home.
Yeah,
that could be quite dramatic and interesting. Yeah, so it looks like he's getting into a little firefight there, possibly at Chateau Picard. And I think that might be the end of it as far as, yeah. So any overall thoughts on this? Any new revelations perhaps or anything like that?
Well, I find the medieval Dungeons and Dragons, Sword of the Rings iconography a little unusual. Yeah, that's my only thought. Because I've seen, I've been watching a lot of news coverage and different things on CBS All Access because I figured out a way to tab over, because I guess I'm an old man, but I figured out how to tab over and actually watch some of the news content that streams live on CBS All Access. Okay. And they've been advertising Picard pretty heavily, but the stuff they've been showing on there is a lot of the stuff that we've seen to death. Like there's more new footage in this than the other stuff. I think the only thing, unfortunately, I find perplexing about this, there's not a lot of space stuff. It looks like they're running around with swords and bow and arrows and like French vineyards, and there's a lot of talking. Troy's like a big dramatic shot of Troy leading Picard into her home. It's a little weird. I know that it'll happen in the show, but you're just establishing where they're going. It's not like they're going to go in there and it's a garage and Riker's cobbling together a new version of the Ares in his spare time that Picard's going to borrow.
Well, that's what has me concerned about the treatment of the legacy characters, is that that's all there is. That's why they're showing us just her leading him up to the cabin, because there really isn't much to show. See what I'm saying? So it's like, this is what they got. And that does disappoint me. I do think, I think they should have at least had one other legacy character that's part of like the crew. You know what I mean? Of Picard's new crew. Somebody that could kind of go along with him, that kind of reconnects it to the, classic TNG era. I don't know how that's going to go over, to be honest with you, with the new characters, because I don't think a lot of people are going to care that much about the new characters, honestly. So we'll see it. We'll see how that goes. But I think a lot of people aren't going to really care that much about the new characters. And you can see in the marketing, CBS All Access is clearly trying to push the legacy characters.
Yeah, they're leaning on them hard, and that's kind of my takeaway too. Is that I feel like if the legacy characters are just cameos, they shouldn't be leaning on them as heavy as they are. I mean, I really think. For example, like I mentioned earlier before, like I'd much rather see Picard, on board. I can't remember if it was the Ares or the Titan that Riker got, but if Riker Titan, still had his ship, and Riker is now the captain, and Picard is there on that sort of like antagonistic ambassador diplomat trying to do the mission, because you see those stories all over Star Trek where there's that former admiral guy who's connected to this situation, and the Federation's trusting him to resolve this, and he has autonomy on the mission, but if it gets into whatever, then the captain of the ship should take him. You know what I mean? Like, it would be
they had a lot of storylines like that. Yeah,
it would be interesting to see that, where instead of coming at it from the angle of the captain and being on his side, you're actually coming at it from Picard's angle. You're actually coming at it from the attaché diplomat side. And then the person he's coming into conflict with is Riker. That is interesting. And then all you really need is you just have Riker and you have a totally new crew. You're on board a Federation starship that's been refit, so it looks kind of new and fun. You still tell the same kind of story, but we have enough Federation and Trek trappings that you feel comfortable, with where you are. And, we'd see a lot more space. We'd see a lot more interior starship stuff. So I'm so excited, and I want to see Picard. But at the same point, this Lord of the Rings stuff and all this, look at all these dramatic scenes taking place in this house, has me a little concerned.
It has me very concerned. And I've said it. I'm disappointed by the fact that it looks like Riker is not in Starfleet anymore. I don't see any reason for that. Why can't he still at least be in Starfleet? I think the reason is because Picard is going to be treated so badly. The idea is if Riker was still in Starfleet, he'd be doing something to help him, right? And they don't want that because Riker is not going to be a significant character. So that's what you have.
But couldn't he go to Riker and be in a similar situation? And Riker's like, well, I do happen to have a ship and a crew, and we do these such and such missions from time to time. We'll take you out and help you. You can still have this similar situation, and it doesn't have to have the Federation trappings, and you can still give us another legacy character along for the ride. If you remember though,
from all good things in this timeline, in that version, Riker said no. He didn't. He said no. I'm not going to help you. Remember?
Right.
So you could have that too, and he could still be in Starfleet. You know what I'm saying? So you could go either way, but my thing is, why can't he be in Starfleet? You know what I mean? Why is he not in Starfleet?
Along the same lines, Beverly said yes.
Right.
So you know what I mean? It's like I can't imagine out of the connections and the people who he's known and he's helped, if he believes in something and he goes to them for help, that he ends up with some ragtag group of people that we never heard of, we never seen before. And not a single legacy character is there at his side when he needs them.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. That's bad. That's really bad to me. And it's a poor treatment of the legacy characters that they wouldn't step up and help him more. You know what I mean? I mean, even if Riker's retired, why can't he go with them?
Yeah.
But what's he got better to do? Granted, he's married, he has a kid, but Troy could stay behind and stay with the child, or you could even do it vice versa if you wanted to and have Troy go with him. But to me, it would make more sense to have Riker. But, it's just like you could do things like that. But again, it feels like a lot of the legacy characters are going to be, they're going to be fan service. They're just not, they're going to be kind of a cameo. I do think it does look to me like Seven might have a fairly significant role in this. And we know because of the Borg storyline, it would make sense for her to have a significant place in this because she was a Borg. So we'll see. We'll see if she's treated a little bit better. But the thing is, Seven is not TNG. So even though I'm happy to see Seven in here, I think Jerry Ryan is awesome. I met her at the last Star Trek Vegas, and she is awesome. And I'm glad to see her in there, but she's not TNG. And I really would like to see a TNG character alive that's significant, somebody. I am still kind of hopeful that because they've shown us so much, and I think this is kind of like all there is, especially with like Riker and Troy. I am still hopeful that we're going to get a surprise legacy character. I'm really hoping. There's been rumors of Worf, even Q. There's been all sorts of weird rumors out there. So I'm kind of hopeful that they're going to give us at least one surprise, and I really hope they do, because I think if they don't, they put too much out too early. You know what I mean? Like they, if this is all there is, that's just not cool. I would love to see. They should have just kept it. You know what I mean? And that way, at least, hey, we get to see Riker. Now I've seen Riker like in 3 different trailers. So it's like I'm hopeful that they're keeping something in reserve, and we're going to get a nice surprise of at least one more legacy character. That's my hope. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it's my hope.
Right. And I guess for me, that's kind of my thing. I wished, I don't know, I would have handled this differently, but that's usually the case. And I don't mean to overly armchair quarterback this thing or whatever, but it just, to me, I think if you're going to have a motley crew, you could have someone there. I mean, I even like the idea in the back of my head of, Picard can't count on one, and it's Worf, and Worf assembles this motley crew, and they go out and have the, I guess that's the thing. It's just, to me, Picard in a desperate situation, going out in space to do something incredibly reckless or dangerous because he believes in it, and all those characters that they've shared all those adventures and everything together that we all know and love that we think would get his back, nobody shows up for him.
Yeah, that does kind of suck.
And then the only people he can count on is a bunch of people we've never even heard of before.
Right.
Oh, well, this was my third in command when I went on that diplomatic mission when I was just doing this thing over here. And she's really good with all this science stuff. So I know I can trust her and she's going to get my back. And I know she's going to say yes because, she's got nothing else going on. I don't know. And like I said, that coupled with all this weird Lord of the Rings stuff. I mean, it's like, going into space, the Legolas and the thief from Dungeons and Dragons is just kind of strange. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really do agree with you. I am concerned about the setup. And I think they really could have fixed that fairly easily by just inviting one of the previous cast to at least go with them, on this adventure. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I am hopeful because we've seen so much that we are going to get one more surprise. At least one more TNG cast member is going to be on this show and hopefully do something significant, Yeah. So we do know in the comic book that you and I reviewed that Geordi was apparently working at the Utopia Planitia shipyard constructing the Armada, the rescue Armada.
Right.
So it's hard to assume that he's still in Starfleet, but I'm kind of hoping because because they could continue that from the comic that he's just, he's on Mars or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he's still involved with Starfleet, as far as building ships, which would make sense for Geordi to end up in a situation like that where in the end of his career, he's actually out there designing and building ships,
Right.
So we'll see. Like I said, I'm just hoping. I have no evidence of this, but there have been rumors of possibly Worf, Q. I've heard those two. So we'll see if anybody else is in there.
Well, and here's the thing. Just because I know some people probably want to burn me in effigy because I was just saying about all the Lord of the Rings stuff. But here's the thing. I love Lord
a lot of
Rings.
people are saying that, though. A lot of people are saying that.
I love Dungeons and Dragons. But it's like, if we're going to do some kind of a knife-wielding fantasy race, why don't we see a new version? Remember there was the original series episode had Julie Newmar in it, and she was pregnant, and they were going to murder her. Yeah, she was like the last descendant of some member of the royal family, and this guy wanted to kill her.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
They had the crazy knives they swung at each other that made the crazy sound effects, and they were a very feudalistic knife-wielding society. Why can't we see an updated version of that? That would be fun. That would be different. They can still sword fight, but then they whip these things through the air and they could bring back that sound effect. And, we could get the Star Trek interpretation of Lord of the Rings instead of just, here's a version of Lord of the Rings in Star Trek. So that's the thing. It's like I go back and I look at Trek lore and I look at Trek history and I go, well, here's an interesting fantasy type race that you already have that we haven't seen since the 60s. Update these guys and move them forward. That might be kind of fun, but that's just me.
Well, it's kind of funny because, a lot of people that don't like the Klingons in Disco and Discovery, they call them Kling Orcs, right? You've heard that? They call them the Kling Orcs.
Yeah.
And that's what it reminds me of, too. It reminds me of orcs. And it's kind of funny to see in Picard, they're making the Romulans into elves.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. Well, if Picard shows up and they got to go find the one ring because it didn't melt in Mount Doom. They got to get to another planet, we'll kind of see where it's going from there,
Oh, that'd be so bad.
Yeah.
That'd be so bad.
She shows up and she throws back the thing and he's like, are you the daughter of no one? She's like, no, I have this ring we have to destroy. I'm no one important. We just have to destroy this ring. They want
it. So bad. You know what would now that you said that, if she does have something and they're trying to destroy it, that's gonna make the whole series. That's what I'm gonna be thinking of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there you go.
I'll be like, dude, you're stealing the plot of Lord of the Rings for Picard. You know? I don't think that's what's gonna happen. I think the plot is fairly straightforward. They're protecting that mysterious character. She has some significance. And I think your theory could be, right on, that she's this sort of Borg android hybrid and related to Data, somehow directly, because she is a Sung. So if that theory is true, I think that's going to be really cool. We'll just have to see if that's true.
I think it would be really interesting, and it's a unique way to have Data kind of play a very pivotal role and have his memories and his legacy live on through a new character, and it like I said, it makes sense, where he's painting the picture of the lonely figure, at the cliff edge where the waters are raging out of control, and he tells Picard, "You have to finish this," and he's handing him the brush, telling him, "I can't do this. You have to do this for me. I started this, but you have to finish it."
I love that. If that's true, that's some good writing there. That's the kind of writing that I like. I mean, that's some definite, foreshadowing. It's using this visual interpretation to kind of tell the story. You know what I mean? That's good. That's good, deep writing, and I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
And then all I have to do is take that brush and take it to Mount Doom and throw it into the fire.
Mount Doom again. All right. I think we'll end on that note.